introduction. My name is Matthew. I'm a customer success manager here. We have a couple team members on with us today. We have Keith, who's the CEO of Juice Technologies. And then we have Justin, who's going to be kind of running the panel in the background. There's just two things that we just want to go over quickly. As we go about this, we really encourage people to be joining in and asking questions. That's the whole point of being here, is to get your questions answered. We are going to be trying to do this weekly, Wednesdays at 2 o'clock. So if your question isn't answered today, you definitely can come back, or we can always reach out to you personally. To keep things organized, we do want to ask that you raise your hand in the Zoom meeting itself. So to do this, there's the reaction button down at the bottom of your panel. And if you just raise your hand or give us another emoji, we'll end up coming to you next. It should put you guys in order so that we can answer your questions. We're going to go over each use case. We're going to try to keep it to 5 to 7 minutes. Obviously, that's not a hard stop. So if there's something that we're continuing to talk about, we will finish up the conversation. And everyone's going to get a recorded copy of this as well. Keith, anything you want to add?
No, just that, thank you very much for joining us today. We're excited. This is our first time, so just bear with us in case we have a couple of glitches here and there. But obviously, we want to make sure that this is a benefit for everyone who's joined. Obviously, you don't have to ask a question, but if you do have a question, raise your hand. We'll do our best to answer it. If we can't answer it here, we'll certainly take it offline and we'll reach back out and we'll make sure we get an answer, and we'll share that answer with everyone as well. So we really, again, we want to make sure this is interactive as possible. So if you feel free to raise your hand, if you will unmute you. If you want to show your video camera, it's fine. If you want to show your screen, it's fine. But if you do show your screen, just be aware everybody else is watching. So I just want to make sure that you're not sharing something that's, something that you don't want everybody else to see. So we can certainly share our screens, and we can do some of our demos and so on to try to answer your questions. But I don't want to take up any more time, so let's try to take advantage of this time and get to your questions.
Yeah, and just to finally cap that off, if you don't feel like unmuting yourself and you still have a question, you could definitely write it in the chat. Justin's going to be monitoring the chat today, so he'll be able to either answer your questions or bring it up to us, and we'll bring it up on the screen. So without further ado, if anyone has a question to start, we'd love to take it. If not, I have something that I can put in, and we can start talking about editing a exact forms plus document, as well as an exact forms plus subtable.
Please don't be shy too. If you guys have a question, jump in.
I'm trying to figure out how.
You're trying to find the reaction?
That's how, Bill. Shoot, go ahead.
All right, I am extremely dangerous here. I have exactly 22 hours worth of experience with this tool. So Matthew ran us through the stuff yesterday. And so I decided to try to add a template to the database today. And I think I got it successfully added, but I have no clue how to run it. And there is no, so the process for how to set up the batch to run this thing I don't know how to do that. So the question is, when I went to create a new batch, it pops it up, but it has all of the code already filled in, not editable. And really the only thing I need to change is the document number. But the question is, how do I go about doing that?
Right, good question, Bill. So I think you're referring to, with exact forms plus batch generation, this batch generation arguments field. And within this field, it's actually a formula text field. So within each record, it's going to have the same thing. And I was actually just talking to Keith about this before. There's a couple different ways that we can go about answering this. But I think if you just want to change the document template, it may be easiest to make a variable, as Keith would probably recommend, correct?
Yeah, let me share my screen quick.
Yeah, okay.
Are you seeing my screen?
I am,
Yep.
yes.
Okay. I have a sample app here where I have a batch processing record, a batch processing table. So we're going through exact forms plus batch processor. And I think what we did for Bill is we set up a way where he can have a control table where he can run a bunch of documents or generate a bunch of documents based off of a report in a table. So I have something similar here where I have my letters. And so if I look at my field here, these arguments are what's passed into exact forms plus. And there's two ways to do this, but batch is a little bit more on a complicated side. So one way to do this is to create a variable. So I might have went fast there, but I'm right clicking and I'm choosing edit the field properties of this field because I want to change this formula because this formula is passing information into exact forms plus.
Yeah, that's the part that I couldn't find was where to get at that field. So
yeah. So I'm going to create a variable here, and I'm just going to call it a variable. I'm calling it a TP. It's a text variable, and I'm just going to say if I think the field is name. Let me just make sure I get that right. Yeah, it's name. Okay, so I'm going to say if. So in my case, I'm going to say if the name is equal to letters, then I want to use my existing template, which is 1. Then I can say, all right, else use number 2. And maybe I wouldn't want to do that. Maybe I want to say else, if, sorry. If it's equal to invoices, then I want to use 2. Else I don't want to use anything. So now what I did was I set up a variable that's going to change based on the name of the record. So now what I'm going to do here is I'm going to change that to be use template, my variable up there. So the way you reference the variable is through a $sign. So what it's going to do is it's going to resolve this, and it's going to set TP, and then it's going to set TPID equal to that variable.
And Bill, that line 6 that he's referring to, that's the temp record on the document templates table that you made the second new template on.
yeah.
Now the other challenge you're going to have to do is what you really want to do is you want to create a variable for every one of these variable fields. Not everyone, but maybe the query ID is going to be 13, right? Because the record, the report that I created in the table, the original one was 12, but the new one's going to be 13 maybe. And maybe the file attachment fields are different. So this is one way to do this is to create variables and then have this one field pass in to exact forms plus batch process because it's already set to go into the batch processor. So now if I add a new record in here and I call it invoices. You see how the TPID changed to 2?
Yeah.
Before it's nothing, but when it's invoices, it's going to be 2. If it was letters, it's going to be 1.
Okay.
So in this case, I'm going to do invoices. But again, I want to make sure that the other, if this was going to go against a different table, then I would have the variable in there to change the master table. And then I would have to have a variable maybe to change the file name that I'm creating, a variable to change the parameter, the MSQ ID, which is really the report query. Now that's one way to do this is to do it with variables. I like to do it with variables because if I was going to have 50 records in here, I want to control it all with one field. Now, the other way you could do it is you could have, I'm just going to save this. I could have duplicated this field and call it maybe my batch arguments for invoices. And then with that field, I don't have to really technically create variables. I can hard code the variables. I can say, all right, I know that for when I'm using invoices, it's going to be 2. I know I want the file name to be invoices. So that might be an easier implementation for other people. So So again, you have flexibility, you have variability. This is one way to do it. So you can hard code everything. Now, if you did it this way, then the important thing to remember is when you click this button, it's going to send this field. Right now, it's designed to send the first field. We want it to send the second field if it's invoices. So we would have to change the email notification that fires the batch processor. We would duplicate this email notification because right now the first email notification sends the batch processing arguments. So obviously that one should only work when its letter type is equal to, or the name is equal to letters. So what I'm going to do here is if I duplicate this and I call it for invoices, I spelled that wrong, and I change this to invoices.
We're doing it live, Keith.
Yeah, and then I change this to, instead of using that field, I use my batch processing arguments for invoices. So now when I know that the record is the invoices record, this email notification will send. When I know it's the letters record, this one will send. So it'll send the proper parameters into Exact Forms Plus, depending upon the record that's in here. So in other words, we send this one for letters, we'll send this one for invoices. So again, there's a couple of different ways to do it. I know this is a little bit on the complex side. So I think if you have any further questions on this, Bill, why don't you try this? And when you run into any roadblocks, you reach back out to us.
Okay, that's perfect. Yeah, I mean, it's a, I went to the bottom of the report and I looked down there and I said, oh, it didn't get added there. I must be missing something.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's a complicated question you're asking because batch process is a little bit on the complex side. It's not just clicking a button, generating a document. It's
right.
It's doing a bunch of different things. But
Okay.
Good question, Bill. Thank you.
Yep, great first question. Awesome. So I think we do have one hand raised. David?
Yeah.
Awesome.
Hi, everyone. I just had a quick question. I'm very, very new to the Courier plugin. I was wondering if we could do a quick demo of how that app plugin works. I'm looking to set it up on one of my applications. I just want to see what the initial setup looks like.
Yeah, absolutely. So I think I'll take this one and I'll share my screen. Keith's going to yell at me because I'm in the Juice Tech realm here, but that's okay because we're going to do it. So the first thing you want to do is you do want to.
Hey, Matt, we see your mail right now.
Oh, wrong one, huh? Sorry about that.
Okay.
Thanks, Keith. So we do have to log into the Juiced Cloud. And David, I believe you do have access to the Juiced Cloud. But if you do not, that is definitely a requirement to be able to do this. But once you're in the Juiced Cloud itself, you'll just click into the QB Courier application. There's two things that you want to do to start. The first one is you want to create a data connection. And of course, here we have a bunch of different data connections, but that data connection is going to be solely off of your user token. So you're going to hit that checkbox for a user token, and the user token is going to come straight from Quickbase. The way you create that can be found on our help site. We could always send you links to that after the fact, but you'll plug that in here, name it something like your company's name, data connection, and hit connect. Once you do that, you'll have to just jump right back into Courier. And you're going to want to create a new Courier configuration. We do have a bunch of configurations here, so I will do this sample one just because Justin and I did this just the other day. So I will use this as our little test mode. But you would want to hit create new Courier configuration. And this is the first screen that's going to come up. When you're creating it, you want to give it a name, obviously something that's convenient for you, and a description that's going to help you identify it in the future, especially if you have many different Courier configurations. The processing mode, you have three options here. On demand, you're going to be able to send to a report. So if you notice, when I click on demand, we actually have this report dropdown come up. You have scheduled, which you see a couple other options come up here where you can do a process frequency, daily, weekly, or monthly, and then a scheduled time. and then triggered, which I believe is the most popular. And that's basically a click of a button or a change in a record within Quickbase is going to have that go off. So like often we create an API button that will check a checkbox on and off, and that will fire the email notification, but we'll get into that more in a second. The status is either test mode, disabled, or enabled. I always recommend you keep it in test mode until you're ready to actually send these out. This Quickbase connection is what we just made before with the data connection. So you'll likely only have one. So you'll click your data connection there, and it will show the applications that have access to that data connection, that user token that you made. So you'll choose the desired application that you want to have QB Courier in, and then as well as the table. So if you have a specific table that you want to put in, and many times if your application does require app tokens, you'll just put that app token in there. If you wanted to kind of go back to the table that you're looking at, this will actually link you right to the Quickbase table. So that's a good little quick link. On this second tab, you're actually going to choose your email options. And this is very similar to whatever email service you use. So the from email, you can use either our generic one, which is QB Courier at Quickbase Tools, but most clients want to go with use your own mail server. And we can connect you to your own mail server. That's kind of a separate question, and we usually try to take that offline. So if you do want to use your own mail server, you would click this button here and add some personal details. If you have questions on that, you could always reach out to us. And then the next thing, of course, you'll pick who you want to receive the email from a field within Quickbase. So for this scenario, we have a client email field. We pick that one, but it will give you a drop down of all the different fields you can select. We have an update field. This is just a date time field within Quickbase. That's going to show you when the email was actually sent for that specific record. Again, just a drop down. Then you have your BCC and your CC, just like a standard email. You can hard code an email in here, or if there's an email from within a Quickbase field, you can put it there as well. And then the reply to, which you can have, if they reply to the email itself, it'll reply to this email address. For the email message, this is where you can kind of have a little bit of fun and get creative for what you want to do. It's just like a regular Outlook message though. If you have that, or Gmail, and you have your subject line, which you can include fields from Quickbase. So say you wanted to have the contact name, you could just drag and drop it up there. Then, of course, in the email message itself, you have bold, italicized, underline, the whole 9 yards when it comes to customizing it. You can include images as you have here. And then as you see, fields from within Quickbase again. So if you wanted to drag and drop it over, you can do that. Word to the wise, a little trade here. Wherever your cursor is where the drop is going to go. So if I click off this and I just drop one in here, it's going to go to the very bottom. So just, as you're doing these, remember to have your cursor wherever you want that field within there.
Okay, I just had a quick question.
Yep.
So if I have a file attachment and I wanted to attach it to the email, how would I go about doing that?
You were just one step away.
Okay, cool.
I just want to jump in one check, Matt, on the email message.
Yep.
Just be careful. Drag and drop the fields. Don't type them, because I know sometimes, hey, I know it's field name. Don't put in square bracket, NAME, square bracket. Actually drag it and drop it, because what we do is we actually build a field list behind the scenes based on dragging and dropping. So it's just like a little quick tip. Don't type into field names, drag them and drop them. Go ahead.
Yep.
Cool. And,
That is,
and then, yeah, the last thing I had was how advanced can we actually write out HTML, CSS, and JavaScript? Is that supported?
so we actually have this code view right here.
Okay.
Where you can write out all the HTML.
Okay.
I actually would have to ask the developer on our end about the JavaScript portion of this. Keith, would you know?
Not JavaScript, but you can use CSS. You can get pretty crap. We've have some pretty cool looking email notifications that go out.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, so that code view can just be found right here. So just you could switch within and out. I know some people prefer this type of view.
So
Great.
jump to the email notification. Yeah, emails.
Yeah. So the attachments, of course, is a huge selling point behind this, and it's because Quickbase themselves natively do not allow you to do file attachments. So for this scenario, we just have from within a file attachment field. You can also get it from Amazon S3. This is just the attachment order for when you have multiple. So in this case, it's just one. You select the field that you want to have it come from. So we chose screenshots. It will give you all the file attachment fields from that selected table. So the screenshot field is what's found. And in this scenario, we chose to have it queried by if the record ID exists, basically. So if there's a screenshot, grab it. And that's 3, which is record ID number, is equal to record ID number. If you wanted to add additional, you would hit this add more. You would hit from a file attachment field, order to, and select table. You can, in this scenario, I'm going to pick client contacts, I believe will be, we must not have any of them there. But if you were to choose another table, you would have the file attachment fields as well selected there, and you just have to make the query again. If you have the file attachment from the same field that you're sending it from, you will not have to do the query. So say it's the invoices table, you would not have to query the invoices table again. It's only when you want to pull a file attachment from a separate table that you have to use the query.
The actual one other question I had. So this is like one template here. So let's say I have a field on my table that is a drop down, and I wanted 3 different email configurations based on what type is selected or what value is selected. Is there a way to do that here?
Yes. So really where you're actually going to want to do that is within email notifications of Quickbase itself. So I'm just going to skip to this finish tab because it actually will help us out in answering that question. In this finish tab, there's this big yellow button here, and this is going to give you all of the information you need to copy for the email notification within Quickbase. It gives you the email address you need to send to, the message type, the subject of the message, and then the important part here is the configuration. And if you notice, we have 4443, and the configuration up here is 4443. So we would take this entire thing and we would end up putting it into an email notification. And I'll just pull up this. Don't know if this is the best example for it, but we'll just pull up email notifications here. And you'll choose email notification. And again, I got that just through the settings. It does need to be an open email notification. Many times clients don't have open email notifications set. So you may have to reach out to Quickbase support on that. You'd call it Courier email or whatever you would like. You'd want to send it to, like I was showing you before, you can just do copy and paste, but this QB Courier address. That's modified. And then in the additional criteria, you would pick whatever criteria you want. For this one, I'll just do CList, and CList is not equal to blank. Obviously, this is just for demonstration purposes. You really would never do that. And then you're going to grab this one configuration, but what we're going to do to make this variable is we're actually going to end up making a field. And Keith, if you had a different, thought process behind that, you can tell me, but this is how I've done it in the past for clients. We would make a separate field here where we would put in the variable DB ID, the variable configuration IDs.
Yeah, you can vary the configuration ID that's used. So if you had 4 email configurations in Courier, you can vary that in a formula text field, or you can have 4 separate email notifications. It's similar to how I was explaining how we work with the batch processor. So, it's really your preference. So multiple email notifications, 1 per email config, or 1 email notification that you just vary it with a field.
Does that make sense, Dave?
Yeah, so basically, it would probably be easier for me to just set it up as 4 separate email notifications based on the type of dropdown that I have.
Yep.
And that way I could just configure it in Courier and then just copy and paste everything.
Correct. So what you would end up having is just within Courier itself, you would have 4 different
Correct.
emails here.
Yep.
Yep.
Cool.
So that definitely works.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Great.
Great. Well,
Thank you for that.
Yep. Hope that answers your question. Awesome. Thanks for asking.
So next up we have Jamil. So I'm gonna unmute and ask your question.
Hello and good afternoon, everyone. My name is Jamil Aidnogdi. I'm with Food for the Poor, and I'm here with Amy Goes, one of our co-workers. We use exact forms and have a little concern about the JavaScript in the code, considering that Quickbase is, making some changes to JavaScript and all. So I have some sample code here that I would like to show you and ask if there's anything we should be concerned about, if there's anything that we should be doing, what is best practices, moving forward. So if you don't mind, I'll quickly share my screen here.
Sure.
Okay, so basically there's a Word document with examples of the code that we have in the fields. They are mostly in one table, the projects table. And for example, in this one, for example, create formatted proposal, we basically use JavaScript to open a window, QB add-ons, the standard, HTTP command with the codes here to create the document. So based on that, is there anything we need to be concerned using JavaScript moving forward? Are there changes that we could make? What should we have to recode this? What's best practices? How can you help us?
So for our add-on Exact Forms Plus, we actually do have a help site page created to show you how to remove that JavaScript safely.
We put out we had a whole campaign when Quickbase announced the JavaScript removal. We had sent emails to a bunch of our customers, all of our customers, and maybe you weren't on the list or you missed it, but we obviously have to remove JavaScript because Quickbase doesn't use it anymore.
Okay.
And, Matt's going to show you right now. We have a link to our help site that kind of explains exactly what you need to do to satisfy the requirements of no JavaScript in formula fields.
Excellent. I really appreciate that. So based on that information you're going to send, Matthew, I would be able to follow through and be able to do this on our own without any trouble.
Correct. I just put into the chat the link to it, but if I were to steal the share, sorry about that, I can quickly show you. Am I sharing the wrong screen again?
Yeah, you're doing the right one.
Well, this is what I want.
Seeing your Google.
Yeah, so from within here, we have a section here, Quickbase JavaScript changes, and we have a couple different links. But for this example, you want to just learn how to remove it. The first step is actually to replace the button type.
Okay.
And you're going to want to replace it from a formula URL field to a formula rich text.
Okay.
And once you do that, you'll have your, generate EFP button rich text. You'll be able to edit the field properties. And you'll find that you'll have the JavaScript at the top and at the bottom. Is that correct?
Okay. Yeah.
Basically, everything that you see here highlighted, you just want to remove, just delete it. Everything up until the HTTP, you don't want to remove that. And then I'm not sure if it would be exactly line 12, but for this example, it's line 12, but the very last line where you have JavaScript again, you will remove the entire thing.
Okay.
Then you want to copy this, and I'm not sure, maybe this didn't go to the whole chat, but I will put it in there again. You want to do var text URL,
Mhm.
Just copy this part right here. And you're going to put that right in front of the HTTPS. One quick thing is you probably do have to put a quote in there.
Okay,
If you see,
thank you, Keith.
and then at the very end, once you do that, there's this long string here, which is pretty generic. But you're going to copy this into the very end of your formula.
Okay.
You can customize the following.
Mhm.
You have vibrant success, which is going to make the button blue.
Okay.
And then you have the data height and data width. Both are set at 1,000 right now. And I believe if we visited this help site page, and if you were using Exact Forms Plus, you'd want the height of 350 and the width of 500.
Excellent.
Besides that, the only other thing is to name your button here
All right.
at the very end, and you can call that whatever you're generating. So if you're generating invoices, you can say, just generate invoices. If it's work orders, process orders, whatever it might be, you just name that there.
Thank you so much. This seems pretty straightforward. I will run a test on 1 or 2 fields, and if I'm comfortable with it, then go through everything. And if I have a problem, I'll get it done.
No, just a note for sure. This is for our buttons, our add-ons. If you have additional JavaScript within the Quickbase application, this most likely will not necessarily work for everything.
Yes, this is only for QB add-ons and Exact Forms.
Yes, correct.
Thank you.
And the other thing you could do is, do you have access to the cloud, Jamil?
No, I don't.
We're going to get you access to the cloud, because from there, if Matt, if you just go into a quick client and just click on Exact Forms Plus, you can set up another table and use our wizard, and it'll create the fields. And they're already like, let's say D JavaScript. So like if you pull up somebody who has Exact Forms Plus, even one of our builder accounts, I don't know, do KJ USA, that's what you Matt, whatever. So you see to set up another table?
Yeah.
So, there's a list of your applications here. So if you click set up another table, the wizard will walk you through. You can choose the same table. So if you were on the proposals table, it'll, it doesn't have to be another table or a separate table. But what it'll do is it'll create new fields for you, and you can kind of look at those fields, and they're already, they don't have any JavaScript in them. You can make the few changes that you need to support the button that you have already, like changing the field name, the field IDs, the file name, etc. But just another way. Every time you set up another table, it won't do JavaScript anymore.
Okay.
That's a good point, Keith.
Thank you.
Yep, you're welcome.
Perfect. All right. I think
Up next, we got Amy. So Amy, I'm going to ask you to unmute yourself, and let's hear your question.
Sure. I work with Jamil. So I recently came on board at the company there. I've been doing Quickbase for 11, 12 years, worked with you guys in the past at previous employers. Since I am kind of taking over the Quickbase stuff there, do I need you guys to give me access to the same stuff that you're going to give Jamil access to, so that I can get in there and whatever? So I wanted to make sure I get added in and have the same functionality and access that Jamil does.
Yeah, sure. When we create an account for Food for the Poor in our cloud, we'll make Jamil like the client admin, and he can invite you in, or we can invite you in as well. So you'll be another user inside of your cloud account. So Matt, you can show the users tab, so you can have multiple users.
Thank you.
So all you have to do is on the upper right, click invite user and put an email address in, choose the role. We typically use the admin role for everybody. We don't really have a lot of, we were anticipating doing a lot of additional, filtering of functionality in the cloud, but right now we don't have a lot of filtering. Everybody's an admin. So you can invite Amy in, or we'll do that for you. And you can see the same thing he can. You can set up additional tables, set up additional apps, check out some of the other add-ons we have, and so on.
Okay, all right,
Thank you.
great. Thank you.
Mhm. Yeah, once we get off this call, we'll set you up in the cloud, and you'll get email notifications to register, and you'll see what we see.
And then just for reference, I did drop the link to register also in the chat if you'd like to do it that way as well.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Yeah, no problem. All right. I know we have a couple other people in here. Don't be shy. If you have questions, feel free to ask.
Matt, I got a question.
Okay.
How do I modify an existing template? How do I make a change to an existing template and upload that change back to Quickbase so that it's available next time I click the button?
Good question, Keith. Thanks for asking. So if you put yourself in my shoes and imagine you're within your Quickbase application right now, and you've already installed Exact Forms Plus, you will have these two tables, document templates and document subtables. And likely one of us or yourself had set up a document template in here, and you're gonna have a record that looks just like this. From within that record, you will probably have a template that is going to have a specific list of things you're looking to generate onto the document. For this example, we have a order/quote. And as you can see, we have multiple different fields from Quickbase as they're set up here with the tilde. So tilde6 tilde, tilde 28 tilde. All of these are identified in this C list right here. Say you no longer wanted to have field 6 in the bill 2. Maybe you made a new client contact field, and now you want to have that as field, 20, or since we're already at 36, let's do 40, whatever it might be. You make that change here. If you wanted to include a new subtable, you would also make that change here. STRID1 is identified right now. We'll go into that in a second. If you wanted to have any other field within this document, we have 105 here. If we wanted to also include tilde 106 below it, you're just going to make that change. And then the most important part, and people do forget to do this, it might seem self-explanatory, but it's to save it. And, we can call this sample template V2. And it's going to just save the document. And from there, you're going to choose that file from your file explorer, sample template V2. For the purpose of this, I'm not going to save it just so that we don't make any changes. But when you would hit that change and hit save and close, the next time you generate that document, it's going to include those new fields. The second thing you could do, which many people do want to make changes to, is that subtable I was referring to. So if you look right here, we have that strid equals 1, and that's saying the subtable record ID. And that subtable can be found right here. As you can see, there's the reference. But I don't know about everyone else, but I really would never want to change the settings field by hand. That would be a real pain. So instead, we have this subtable configurator. And this makes life much easier. So you give it a second to load. Where'd it go? And this will give you more of an easy edit screen. So for this scenario, we have add-ons, and then we have the add-on info table. You could select any one of your tables. The filter criteria we have here, it's set that the add-on contains a signature. If you wanted to have a different one, you could say record ID is not blank. That would basically say that there has to be a record.
Please don't do that one.
Don't do that one. Sorry, I'm breaking things. I'm good at
No,
that.
no. Just to give you guys a reason why is because if you say where record ID is not blank, it's going to pull every
everything.
record in the items table. So don't do that one.
Well, you could do record ID
Don't say greater than
is,
0.
and you could do 10. So now you're only going to be bringing back which ones have the record ID of 10. Just examples.
When you're creating a new subtable configuration here, if the tables are related already, we build that for you. So we prime it with what we know the relationship between the tables are. So let's say you had invoice and invoice details. The minute you come in here, if you were creating your invoice details subtable, we would automatically prime that. So you would never have to really touch anything there. This is more for advanced if you want to say, well, only give me the invoice items that are approved or that are in stock or something like that. So
Yes, those are better examples. Thank you, Keith. But once you have that set, this is where you'll actually add the subtable details. For this one, the only two columns we have shown are add-on and monthly hosting. You can select them by this checkbox here. So if I wanted to include the record ID, it's going to be the third column in that subtable. If you thought that you'd want it first, you can drag and drop it to the top and it shows that there was a change made. If you want to take it out, you just uncheck it. The other important part of this is the width and the column label. You might not want to have monthly hosting written out. You might just want to have hosting or invoices. You make that change there. So the column label will say that. Say the width of 65 is not enough and you think it should be 100. You make that change there so that you can actually see across the top and the data below it has more room to fill out. So, the columns don't get squished and you have a really long page. And from there, you can also have some advanced settings. So if you wanted to change column header alignment, the data alignment, if you wanted to subtotal the fields, which we'll get into in a second in sorting and grouping. And then of course, bold, italicize, underline, strike out, different fonts you can use, and of course, different font sizes. Once you're done with that, you just hit apply field changes. So for now, just because I don't want to make any changes, I'll just put this back to the way I found it.
you can click cancel changes, Matt. It should push those back.
Yeah. Within sorting and grouping, there's a lot you can do. First off, sorting, you could have it sorted by a specific field. So say it's just date created. That's a popular one. You could have it sorted by the amount of time, the date that it was created per record, and you just hit add. Obviously, if you want to take it out, just remove. Grouping, you could have a grouped by any field. If you want to have it grouped by add-on, you just do that. And you can change your grouping alignment. This is actually going to make subgroups per each add-on for this example. So if you wanted to have it aligned left, you put it there. If you wanted to have that group color be something different, you can apply a red color across. So you see that grouping shows itself. And of course, just font color. This is all just customization. Of course, it's your own preference. We did have a subtable before, so you can select one of the two that were selected. And you can do a subtotal. So if you had monthly hosting, that's a dollar amount. You can subtotal that and also grand total the same. I couldn't save any of those either. And this is some additional increased formatting. So you can change all these. These are all very customizable. I'm not going to go into each one right now because everyone's use case is going to be different. But to show you guys what this will actually generate, I'll click into one quickly and do a little test. This is actually our signatures demo, so might as well show you guys both while we're here. With our signatures notepad, you can do a quick write out. Oh, didn't mean to do that. And hit save, close. And you see my name came up there, the sign off date, full name, and title. But to show you the exact Forms Plus portion of this, when you click generate the document, it's going to create that exact forms template that we were just showing you how to modify. And you see this is that subtable we were just talking about. We have the subtotal at the bottom here, which is just subtotaling the monthly hosting. You can see that the width for add-on was 400 compared to 65 for monthly hosting. So say we wanted monthly hosting on the same line, you would make that bigger. And then of course, all the other fields are filled in, as well as my signature is on there. So that's just a crash course on how to edit a document template. Everyone's is going to be different. And that's the cool part about Quickbase is every single application has its own use cases. So of course, if you have individual questions or issues, you can reach out to us, or as you can ask them now if there was anything that you saw that you have a question on. All right.
I think David's got a question again.
All right.
Sorry, guys. Just had a quick question. Going back to the Courier application. So because my HTML for my email message portion of the setup is a little bit long, is there a better way on how we can drag in the fields? Because right now what's happening is it's not lining up for me. So like Keith said, not to manually type it in with the brackets or anything like that, but use the drag functionality. So I was wondering, is there a way that I could either drag the menu down or?
Yeah, you can't choose multiple when you're dragging, right, Matt?
Yeah, you can only do one at a time when you drag them in. But what I will say is I think when you're in that code view, I believe you can type them in. The problem is, and what Keith was saying before, is we're actually making a C list, just like we showed before with Exact Forms Plus. So when you drop them in, you're kind of adding it to that C list. I believe once you drop it in itself, you can like Control X, Control Cut, and put it where you want within the document. That is ways I've got around it. But you definitely do need to drag and drop it in at least once, or else you will get an error message.
That's in the non-code view, right? To do that.
When you drag and drop it in, yeah, the non-code view.
Okay. Cool.
What I will show.
One other thing that we have on our list of modifications is to allow you to modify the C list. So in your case, if you had your HTML already predefined and you want to copy and paste the entire thing in, that we would allow you to manually set the C list. So you'd have to then still go through and say, all right, my C list is equal to 5.6.7.8.9.10.
Correct.
That's on our roadmap. But right now, unfortunately, we have to drag and drop and build out that C list manually. Through the drag and drop.
It actually worked now for me on the non-code view, so I'm good to go.
Oh, great.
Love to hear it. Well, I'm glad you were able to do it, right on call, so you can still get that question in. So we do still have 10 minutes, and we want to make sure that, we are giving you guys the full time that we allotted. So if you guys have questions, now would definitely be the time.
And of course, you don't have to come up and speak. You can put it in the chat if you don't want to talk. It's perfectly fine.
And we're using this for feedback as well. So if there's something that you wish, if you're a long-term user of Quickbase and Exact Forms Plus and you wish it did something, we're certainly open to listening to some suggestions from you folks.
Well, certainly is not mandatory. So I guess in that case, I do want to just circle back and remind everyone that we are going to be doing this weekly. So if there's something that comes up during this week where you have questions and you want to get answers, but you don't necessarily want to contact support, you'd rather get on a call with someone and share your screen, this would be the place to do it. We'll be sending out an email with links to do this. We also have, a master demo where you can review all of our add-ons. The way you can find this easiest is to go to all add-ons by category within our help site. And let me show that for you guys. So within our Juice Tech website, if you go under add-ons and view all by category, you can see a whole list of all of our add-ons. But at the very bottom here, you can find our master demo. And when you hit learn more, we have a whole suite of demos you can review. But I do see Amy has a question, so let me pause there.
Oh, okay. And yeah, I'm sorry. For the weekly meetings, are you automatically including us on links for each week, or
You,
how's that work?
you will definitely receive an email with a link. However, you're not going to, be mandatory to show up.
Right.
You will receive a copy of this recording as well as a link to next week's meeting. So if you do want to join again, which we definitely recommend, you'll find it in an email sometime this week.
Okay. All right. Good. Thank you.
Yeah, no problem. Yeah, just to continue on this master demo app, this is definitely your place to go if you have any interest in any of our other add-ons, or just want to poke around in what we have in the add-ons that you already use. So when you click on the link for each one of them, it'll take you straight to a record where you can test it out. So for Exact Forms Plus, it shows you a couple different ways you can generate it, such as a progress bar, which we didn't show before. Some clients have very large documents where a progress bar is, preferred, so they can see how long it's taking to create. And each one of these has their own unique, demo to look through, such as, our text MyQB. If you wanted to do a live text, you could put your own mobile number in and send one of these various canned messages. And these will just give you a quick show of how you can receive a text message and send it back out. People who have agents in the field, who have anyone working on the road, this is a great add-on to have, as well as any of our other suite of add-ons here. But again, the way you get to this is to go to view all by category from the Juice Tech website and scroll to the bottom. And of course, I guess I'll want to end it off with a little tip of my hat to Justin. We have all of our social media pages here, and we've been more and more active on social media. We have our YouTube link here as well, where we'll be adding help site tutorials to YouTube soon, as well as within our social medias, we have weekly tips and customer spotlights that might be interesting to you. All right. And of course, there's other ways to get to the help site as well. But for now, that's all I have. Keith, anything you want to add?
No, just thank you all for joining. I hope this was helpful. We're looking forward to continuing to do this, to try to add some value, answer any questions. Again, you still have support at juicetech.com, where that's not going away, but if you run into a roadblock and you want to come on live with us here and get a little bit more of a walkthrough, as well as sitting in the background and learning what other challenges some colleagues are experiencing with our add-ons, or just learning more about our add-ons, please join us and sit in the background and listen.
Absolutely. Awesome. Well, I really appreciate everyone coming, like Keith said, and hopefully we'll see some of you guys next week.